Welcome back to part 2 of assembling the SQ5 engine. In part 1 we removed the engine and stripped it all down. I also started cleaning some of the components in the aqua machine and they turned out really good. In this video I'm going to be assembling everything, so that's including everything inside of the V. On the front of the engine we're going to also be doing carbon cleaning on the intake valves. We're going to be cleaning all of the intake manifolds to get rid of all of the carbon that's built up on them, and we're also going to be replacing all of the timing chain components. Then once everything is back together, I'll be putting the engine back into the car and we'll be starting the engine for the first time. And just to give everybody a rough idea of how long this kind of a service takes, for example, this SQ5 I spent a lot of time on it because the customer wanted to replace pretty much everything that is a serviceable item and can be replaced without having to strip the engine down to the bare block. In the end, I did roughly spend about 40 hours working on this car. The plan was to basically start working on the car on the Monday and finish it the same week Friday, but we were waiting for the new turbo to arrive for quite some time, so it did take a little bit longer. But with that being said, sit back and enjoy watching the reassembly of this 3-litre bi-turbo TDI. This is the front main cover. It looks really good after the aqua blasting. Looks almost like new, except some of the deeper pitting, but you can't do much about that. So the final thing to do is to put the front main seal in, and then the front is pretty much done along with the middle. Now we can move over to the back of the engine where all the timing chain components are. First thing to do is to swap all of the old pulleys for the new ones, change all the bolts, and then we can start by putting the chains and all of the guides on as well. And the last and final one. Check. Cool. All good. Mr. Kent Spanner. We got everything on, all the chains, guides, new sprockets, new bolts as well. And when you are fitting these chains, you need to make sure that the bolt is basically in between these two, so that the chain has, so that the sprocket is able to turn and it's not getting stopped. And that's there so that it can pull the tension from this long chain all the way over here. So now that everything is checked, I can pull the pin out. Oi. And we can start torquing all of these bolts. Now, all of these M10s get torqued to 23 Newton meters. All of the bolts are tight. I've removed my special drill bits. I need to remove the crankshaft locking pin still, but once that's removed, I'll be able to spin the engine over a couple times and then make sure everything will line back up as it should. Now that I've checked everything is good, we can move on to putting the rear cover on, and then all of the smaller covers, the rocker cover, so then we can move on to doing the valve cleaning. Don't do that. So we got all three covers on. They look really good, nice and clean. I'll get up at the rear main ceiling, and then after that I will be putting on the rocker covers, which I have also cleaned. Over here, they look really good. And then once the rocker covers are on, I'm going to move on to doing the carbon cleaning. Okay, now that all of the covers are on and they look nice and clean, the only thing left to do is deal with the intake valves, which I'm not really looking forward to because it's not a job that I particularly enjoy, but it has to be done. So let's crack on and get these valves looking like new again. This is what I'll be using to clean the valves, just some walnuts. I'll be spraying that with here. I've got a couple adapters for the two different ports. So from past experiences, I know that these valves are an absolute nightmare to clean, not only because they are really thick, the carbon in there is like really oily, and even though we have a really good air compressor which is able to maintain a steady 10 bar of pressure, which is around 150 psi, that is still not enough. So I wanted to try something new, so I sprayed loads of this heavy chemical engine degreaser into all of the valves. I used my favourite toothbrush to scrub all of the walls, and then I left it for 12 hours, basically overnight, and then in the morning I came and used a sucker to suck all of that out, and to be fair, it worked really well because it basically melted all of the slimy, gunky carbon off there, and then the walnut machine just basically polished the rest of it off. So, whilst I'm waiting for the new turbo to arrive, I don't want to put the manifold in because it will be a lot easier to put this clamp on with the manifold off. So I will move on to putting the gearbox back on. But before I can put the gearbox back on, I need to put the flywheel on, torque the bolts. So let's crack on. Oi, oi, oi. the filter. After a lot of time waiting, the new turbo is finally here, so I can start assembling everything back onto it. I've cleaned everything in the aqua blast machine to get it looking nice and fresh, and we're putting loads and loads of new original seals on there as well. Is looking good. So I'm getting there slowly. I've got all the loom in place to the gearbox on both banks. I just need to put this on, but before I put this wiring on, I want to put all the boost pipes on. That will go here. 3, 2, 1. And that about wraps it up for this video. Let's have a look under the hood. It looks really good. Everything is nice and clean. There's no oil leaks, no diesel leaks, no coolant leaks. Although I do need to go back to the garage and top up the coolant still a little bit. But that's fine, that's to be expected. We've got AC regassed, we've been to track-in, and the car is pretty much done. I just need to get it up on the ramp one more time, have a look, make sure everything is fine underneath, and put the undercovers back on, and that's it. But as you can see, the engine is looking really good, especially with those two, one big snail and one smaller snail. They look really good. We'll see how long they last looking as fresh as that. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time on it, but it also looks like someone has spent a lot of time on it because it looks really nice and clean. I'm sure the customer will appreciate it. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.